Juan Pa, I feel so excited for this conversation. I feel so excited to get to know you better. You know, when you go to someone's home, you get to feel their energy. You get to see how they architect reality. And so being here in the nest in Costa Rica, I was just sharing earlier, when I got to my room, normally if I go to someone's home or a hotel, I need to spray and do Palo Santo and clear and clap and, set the energy. And I walked in and I was like, nope, we're good. Energy feels pristine, feels crystalline here. And so I want to celebrate you on the lifetime of work that you have done internally to create this external 3D reality of what feels like actual heaven on earth, actual paradise. And I know that it's just the beginning of this beautiful community that you're building here. So thank you for having me. Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you so much.
So as I was getting to know you better and reading your bio, I was like, oh, okay. So we've studied yoga, quantum physics, qigong, tantra, Toltec philosophy, shamanism. And most people that study that many things are like dabblers. You're like, oh, I'll dabble in this or I'll dabble in this. Or it's like they keep seeking for something else, something external. What's the next modality? It's like that adage of building, like digging a lot of 3-foot wells and never hitting water. But this is not you. Like, you've not dug 3-foot wells in all of these trainings. Like, you've hit water in every single one of these trainings. So I'm curious, like, what has been the through line, or what has been the golden thread of sameness that you find inside of all of the different modalities that you've studied?
It's a beautiful question, and it is the reason why I allow this methodology that I'm sharing with the world to come through, because for me, more than each one of these ancestral wisdom or methods or technologies, it was more about the universal principles that they all share. And if you distill it, it's all about soul connection. It's understanding that we are the gurus, we are the teachers, we are the healers, the alchemists, the shamans that we've been looking for. And we stop putting it out there and we start understanding who we are, remembering who we are, and then allowing the universal truth, love, light, flow to just be embodied in every cell of our beings. So they all help us come back to what we call our natural state. It's very simple, and they all lead to the same space. So this is why I chose each one of them, because I could feel their deep work, and at the same time I could see where there were some limitations. So I loved almost putting them all together, because I felt this is the biggest gift I can give to humanity, where they don't have to go and study for years. I've been over 30 years studying all this, deeply obsessed. And I'm like, what if someone, at 50, even 60, want to, study this? Like, they won't even have time, maybe if they're not in good health, right? So can we distill it? And I feel now we're in times of, let's simplify things so we can really connect to the depths of the teachings and not get lost in all the complications of the mind.
Yeah. Like the dogma and the certifications and the level 1 and level 2. And it was everything. It's like every religion, right? It's like there's purity, there's beauty, there's truth at the core of it. And then the humanness comes in and makes it hierarchical and all of the humanness of it.
Yes. And unique, and it has to be this and that. But if you analyze it, if you distill it, it's exactly the same. You see Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they're exactly the same. They're like one perspective of the Himalayas and the other perspective.
Or just different plants growing in different regions.
In different regions. Yeah. But at the end, it's really the same. Come back to your natural state. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what is your body constitution. Let's see how we can help you come back to the balance of all the elements, the balance of the doshas in your body, in your life. Very simple. But then they complicate it so much in order to but this is better. And this is, you have to study so much in order to apply this to your life. Yes, if you want to become a Chinese doctor or a Ayurvedic doctor, that is different. But if it's for you and really using the principles for your life and your relationships, it doesn't need that much information. It's getting to the essence of it all.
But this feels really important that you're coming back to you. You're coming back to the natural perfection of your body, which is different than how I think we approach healing often, certainly in the West, of I need to ascend, I need to evolve, I need to get better, I need to transcend. And I think that there's a similarity there of, I mean, certainly we're all evolving all the time. And yes, creation is happening all the time. But I think there can almost be like an escape route through spirituality practices. And like, oh, I'm going to ascend up out of the body. And your work is like, no, let's get in the body. And I think we share that in common. Like, I'm all about embodiment. Like, let's bring heaven to earth through the frequency in our bodies right here, right now. And the fact that you frame it as so simple is so beautiful. And I also think quite rare for a man, right? Like, if you look at, and this is very stereotypical, but if you look at the hero's journey, it's like, what are we doing out in the world? Versus the heroine's journey is, what am I facing internally? What emotions am I able to feel and transmute? So can you speak to why embodiment called you? Like, how did you not get lost in the trap of let me ascend up into God, and versus like bring heaven into earth into my body?
Yes. And I can say I did get lost in transcending and needing to, and I should, and having all these expectations from a very young age. And this is why I think I went to hell. Trying to look for heaven, I went to hell.
Well, like you said yesterday, in order to find yourself, you must first get lost.
You must get lost. And I really got lost. So from a very young age, since 9, I had my parents, for example, my mother practicing Osho and all his real practices, very deep. I loved them. They were very fun. They were about laughing and about like crying and about like being in silence then and about shaking it off and all these things that I just loved as a kid, right? So I would go with her with all these things and the weekends, and I just went fully into the work, and I started seeing how my mother loved it so much, and how she put me on a pedestal, how amazing I was as a kid, and how I was like the perfect kid at school and in my relationships. And my brother got sick and he was like dying. And I was like the perfect brother, like I would do whatever it would take. I was looking for so much love. I was looking to be accepted, as we all do as a kid. But I kept that going for a while. I had this almost this savior kind of Christ consciousness, but distorted, right? So I'm the savior of everyone and I would be the hero of everyone. It's all on me. Mama, don't worry. Like my brother would have epilepsy attacks all night. I wouldn't even wake her up. I wouldn't sleep at all. She wouldn't even know. I didn't even want her to know. Like that's the type of person, right? But that killed me to a point that at 15, I started exploring with certain substances for also consciousness and like getting up there. I was fully into meditation and yoga and all of this.
At 15?
Whatever it would take to like bring my consciousness up and be that. At the same time, I was super in sports and I was like surfing, but it was mostly for the outside. Like I wanted to be a bodybuilder and have the best body ever. And I was like 200 pounds at 15 years old. I wanted to be like, like the most handsome too in a way, like, call the attention and be like the perfect in school. Like I had all these ideals, very obsessed with being the best, very competitive, very masculine based, very outside the hero's journey, right? So this took me to a place to explore these substances and took me fully out of my body. And I started going deeply into all kinds of meditations and journeys, but it was fully out. I was scared to actually go within and look at all my emotions, look at everything I was carrying from a kid, all my fears, all my doubts, all my confusion, all my not good enough. I wasn't able to face that. So I put it all outside and I would journey forever until I remember going to this astrologer that was helping me because I was feeling like so disconnected. And he's like, Juan Pa, you're just not in your body. Have you heard of that song of Pink Floyd? hello, hello, is there anybody in there? He sang it to me and I felt so much anger.
Ah.
And I felt like I just wanted to hit him. Like all this came up. Of course, it's my, he's showing it to me straight, and I wouldn't get it. Even though I had so many body practices, I wasn't in my body. I wasn't allowing myself to feel the shadows, the darkness, the pain that I was carrying, and I was still putting it out there as on my face, on my mask, which that mask crumbled. I got lost actually playing around with substances. I got lost into partying and going the other way. I remember telling my mother, I am not the angel anymore. I don't care anymore. I was fully vegetarian for many years. I'm going to start eating meat and I'm going to start, but from a place of revelry and like, I don't care about anything. I want to die if I need to die. Like it was so much anger coming out and I just didn't know what to do with it. So
And
I
what were
went
you
to the
angry about? Like, was it about your childhood being robbed of having to grow up and take care of your brother? Was it like, what was the anger coming from?
I can say this anger was from childhood. I was carrying a lot of pain. First of all, my parents getting divorced, my father leaving on my second birthday, like saying, I'm done.
And so he wasn't in your life after
He
that,
was
or
there
a little bit?
every 15 days, every month, like here and there. I didn't have a strong father figure, especially at a very, very young age. And then I had my brother getting sick at 9, and then I had abuse. I had 2 abuses as a kid. And I repressed all that. I never talked about that. So I had already all that. And I was expressing it a little bit, but the anger was coming out so strong that my parents wouldn't let me. It's like, what's going on with you? Instead of like really helping me bring it out and see where it was coming from, it was like, that's too much. We don't know what to do with you, because there was so much energy, so much fire. So I started to repress it. And again, no, I need to fit. I need to be part of the system. I want to be loved. I want to be accepted. So if that means stop my anger, stop my anger. If that means stop crying, because I was a crybaby, I was very vulnerable. I would cry all the time, and my cousins and the friends would like bother me all the time, and like, I'm not a man and I'm still a baby, and you know how it is. So I remember being in the bathroom like biting my tongue and like getting so hard on myself and saying, I won't cry ever again, like putting it in my body, until like I did it. I stopped crying for a very long time. So is every one of the emotions, even laughter. My laughter was so open and loud that I remember in school they made fun of me at some point, until I'm like, oh my God, like I laugh like a stupid, like a bummer, or like I don't know how to call it, the name, but like I'm stupid, I'm silly, I'm like, they would call me like, oh my God, the stupid laughter, right? And I mean, I heard it once or twice that the class all laughed at me laughing, but that was enough. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to cut my laughter too. Okay, no worries. I'm here. And I became a rock. Like I wouldn't have emotions. It was incredible, but I wouldn't enjoy life. Like literally I was dead in a body. So when I started exploring with substances, of course I came back to life like, oh my God, life is amazing. And they would open the door for me to my reality or my essence. But of course, then it will close back again more than ever. And that was the game I was playing until I kind of got lost. But instead of bringing them out, it was just numbing them and putting a Band-Aid on them.
Yeah. Wow. And so how did you transition from that? Because I always say, with anything, it's about the intention. You could poison yourself with water. You could torture someone with waterboarding them, and it is the essence of life. You could be addicted to food, or you could nourish with it. I think the same is true of substances, right? We can use them to heal and to ascend and to feel our feelings more, or we can use them to escape life and to try and get out of the body. So when did it shift for you of you're in this getting lost, you're in this numbing, to, oh, I'm actually going to do the work of embodying my highest potential. Like I am going to bring my highest self into my body here and now?
Yeah. Well, it was never from that point of view because I didn't have the gut or the willpower anymore. I was out, and I really got lost into wanting to kill myself till I found myself, because I barely remember this, but with a knife on my wrist and like ready to go. Nothing else mattered. There wasn't anything else in my life that could keep me alive, but there was a voice. There was a voice that said very clearly no. And it was a voice I was waiting for a little bit, because I'm like, God, you're not here. Like the God I've been looking for, and I have done so much work, and you haven't been there ever. Like I have felt bliss and all this, but I don't feel this guidance. I felt lost. I didn't feel loved. I didn't feel connected. Of course, I had a whole castle around me that was protecting me from everything, even from...
You mean like internal walls?
Exactly, right? Like it's like a armor. Right? All around me. So I couldn't feel, I wasn't connected to anything. So of course, that disconnection is like, why am I here? And that voice got me to the floor, cried for the first time in a long time.
Because you finally felt the connection, you finally felt the guidance.
Yes, and I felt like I just kind of came to realization, like, what? I'm taking my life away. What am I doing? I wasn't in my body. It's like, oh my God, it can't be me with a knife on the wrist right now. This is
who's
crazy.
doing this?
Who's doing this? Look where I've gone into. Look at me. I had like a broken tooth. I was like super like thin and like not looking good from being who I, like coming to like, I'm nothing. I'm no one. I don't care. I don't care about life or myself or anyone, right? So it was like almost like I realized what had happened, and I just cried. I just cried for a long time. Then I reached out on the phone to my dad, and I asked for him some help. And he got me to a clinic. I needed to clear first. And then we went to a community, which was a spiritual community, where I stayed for 4 years.
Wow.
And that's where I started going into myself, facing my shadows, looking at those parts I couldn't see before, expressing my emotions, connecting with my soul, because that's what it was all about. I was disconnected from my soul. I thought connecting with the soul was done in a certain way.
Up and out.
Out. And it's in your body. And it's in like cutting grass. It's in like planting your vegetable garden, doing cheese, cleaning the bathrooms, like all of these different tasks, but doing it from awareness, consciousness, from the soul, from a spiritual perspective. So it gave me so much. Imagine I stayed there 4 years, 2 years in Italy, like going super deep and studying, because they could see potential for me to being a leader. And then they brought me to Costa Rica, and they gave me the leadership of the center in Costa Rica, which was starting. So I was like in charge of like 60 people. Some people were from like, I don't know, from 15 years all the way up to 60, 65.
And how old were you at this time?
19.
Wow. So you're like leading a spiritual community in Costa Rica at 19 years old.
So at 19, I started in Italy. So that would be 21. 2 years, around 21, I was here grounded, and I'm like, what am I doing here?
And you were from Costa Rica.
Yes.
Went to Italy and then came back home.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that was my biggest lesson, because these guys were hardcore. Like, I had been playing around actually with substances. These guys were like addicted for a very long time. Street people.
So it was like a rehab clinic of sorts that you were in.
They were that, but it was all spiritual based. It wasn't like let go of drugs or substances. It's more about connect with your soul.
Amen.
This is all what it's about. It's not about what am I letting go of. It's about I have been disconnected, come back to your center.
Yes. It's like when you want to change your eating, it's like, don't worry about what you're not eating. Like, just put more vegetables in, like put more goodness in.
Yes.
And I always say that the best hedonists make the best spiritualists, right? The people who are looking for that life inside of the substances usually are looking for that life inside of spirit. It's the same search. It's just one is destructive and one is creative.
It's the same. And that's
Yeah.
where I worked with them instead of looking at their masks and their masculine, like wanting to actually like destroy me because I was the baby and I was like their leader. It was hard. Like they made me pieces between them. It was one of the hardest times of my life, but it made me so strong from vulnerability. I tried to fight them with like, oh yeah, they destroyed me. How am I? They would eat me alive. Like they don't even listen to me. You know, I was.
They don't want to face that. They don't want to face themselves. They don't want to let go of it. And then here you've got this 20-year-old kid taking away their lifeline. Of course,
Exactly.
they destroyed you.
Yeah, but more than that, also facing them with their same energy. I was meeting them with their energy because I'm like, oh yeah, I can show you I'm a macho too. Like I'm pretty, and I'm like, you know what? The day I accepted, because I wanted to leave the community, it was too much for me. I'm like, I can't do this. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be raw and real, and that's the base of all the work, raw and real. We got together, all of us, and I shared from the bottom of my heart, like what I was feeling, asking sorry to match them on their energy. This is the energy that almost killed me. I am done with that energy. I want you guys to see me for who I am. And just so you know, you all say like, I'm just from like a millionaire parents, which is not true, but that's how they see me, right? The little tantrum boy that had everything and lost, and that wasn't true, my life, but you know, they put me in that place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to show you, I want you to know, like my life and my suffering inside. I started talking about myself, and I started crying and saying how I felt with them, and how what I really wanted was to help them, and I could see the pain in their eyes, and I could see the suffering, and I could feel them, and all I wanted was to help them come out of it and support them in their path. I could see their whole potential. Some of them started crying. Like half of them hugged me after the session. You can't imagine how beautiful it was, because it was from my heart. And it was the real courage. It was like the real man coming through, and not that distorted man trying to prove or trying to be or trying to match or trying to compete with them, but more like really feel them and share from my heart, not from a victim place, but from a place of owning it and talking about the real work I had done with all of that I was carrying in my life, and how that gave me so much freedom and so much love, and how for the first time I could feel God. And for the first time, I could feel that freedom I was looking for in external substances or in adrenaline hits that I had been looking for all my life. So that really opened them up, because of course we were relatable. Now it's human to human.
Yeah.
Now it's soul to soul. Now it's like, hey, I see you. And yeah, I had the best time. It was hard. It was a lot of work every day, 5 a.m. to 9, 10 p.m. nonstop, helping, serving, doing like nonstop, full in service. But that got me to my purpose. Like, I love serving. I love helping. I'm here to support humanity no matter what. I just love this. I'm obsessed with this. So that lit up that fire in me of like leadership and helping, supporting others.
Oh, I love this so much. There's a couple of things I want to circle back to. One, the idea, you know, the old adage of like chop wood, carry water. You know, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And I love that even like right out of the gate, you were noticing, oh, I'm going to be embodied when I'm planting my garden, when I'm eating my vegetables, when I'm cleaning the bathroom. It's like, can I do this from the perspective of my soul in the body? And versus, oh, I'm going to try and escape the body and be in heaven somewhere other. So that is beautiful. Also, I would say that, you know, I've been on this spiritual journey for 20 years or so, and of all the stuff I've done, you know, the plant medicine ceremonies, the darkness retreats, 16 years of meditation, I just keep coming back to the simplest truth is that we have to feel our feelings. Yes. Like they just want to be felt. And so I want to celebrate you at such a young age that you were brave enough in that situation where you were being triggered, where you felt like you were not enough, that you were willing to crack it open, to be vulnerable, and to not only feel, but to allow people to witness you in that feeling, because that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like to be witnessed in it is alchemizing. And then, as you saw, liberating for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So I know you to be an extraordinary teacher. I would call you an activation artist, a medicine person. Like I know that you dance in these spirit spaces with so much dexterity. What would you say, like, so people who are not familiar with your work, like how have you taken all of these different modalities that you've been studying for so long and alchemized it into your work? Like how do you help people embody their highest potential?
Well, the first step is let's get raw and real.
What does that mean?
That means let's look at ourselves, raw and real, no masks. Do it for you. Journal about this. Do your own meditation, whatever it takes. But what are parts of you're not feeling aligned to? What are parts of you that you're suffering?
Where are you in hell?
Where you in hell?
Yeah.
What are parts that you're denying, that you're running away? So it's like, stop running away from yourself. Just really accept wherever you're at with love and gratitude. Because it's with gratitude. This is my biggest teacher. Whatever I'm feeling, emotion, it's energy in motion. It's just stuck energy that is stuck because I didn't allow myself to feel and to allow it to flow. So the more I connect with it, allow it, surrender to it, and let my body know that it's safe to feel it, let my body know that it's okay, then that energy starts flowing. Usually goes to the heart and opens the heart, and you feel bliss from anger, from anything else. You allow that energy just wants to be transformed. Like the nature of energy is like it goes from a low vibration to a high vibration. This is like if you allow it to happen and you support the process, that's it. From dark to the light. That is the process.
Wait, so say more about this, because this is something I've thought a lot about. And I would say that I was teaching, it's like part of my modality is called emotional alchemy, where I'm just like giving people tools to go into rage, into sacred sorrow. And then the way I was teaching it when I started is like, we're going to go in and then we're going to alchemize it with our bliss. We're going to alchemize it with our turn on. And then I realized that the way I was speaking about it felt like bypassing, right? That it was somehow the rage is less sacred than the bliss, that somehow the sorrow is less sacred than the turn on. And then a woman who assists me on my retreats, she was like, actually, Emily, like if you just fully express it, like if you just fully feel it, then you can find the ecstasy in the expression of the feeling. So I feel like, is that what you're saying? That like that the lower vibration emotions, it's not that they're worse or better, but that if you can fully feel them, that they will alchemize themselves into something else?
Yeah, there's different processes, and we can approach it in different ways. How I do it in how I share is we first feel it, and now knowing that it's there, or at least we know that there. We know that anger is there, even if it's very deep and I can't feel it. But it's there and I acknowledge it. We know a pattern, like how I speak to my wife, how I speak to my son, how I'm showing up in my business, how I am when nobody's watching, right? I'm aware of all these parts that I know are not aligned to my soul. So we acknowledge the emotions. We see them, we feel them, we know that they're there. We acknowledge the suffering patterns or behaviors or beliefs, like whatever we know that is not aligned to our highest self, is not the highest version of the self. I know I can show up in a different way. And I talk about this. The most important is how I am when nobody's watching, because I'm so good when I'm surrounded by people and I can be the best ever. But what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I eating? What are my deepest intentions where I'm alone, where nobody's watching, right? Like that is where you really get to see because this is like an animal. It's like a wild animal, the body. And you can actually understand it and love it and allow it to be expressed fully and use that energy for actually manifestation and create the life of your dreams. Or you can allow that energy to guide your life and do whatever it wants, eat whatever it wants, respond in whatever it wants, react, be in safety kind of fight or flight mode, right? That's all in the body. And you become the master of the body and the temple, and you alchemize the emotions and the thoughts and the energies and use this for manifestation, or you allow all this to guide you. But with specifically the emotions, I really love the process of, okay, I see them, I ground into them, I can observe them. Now I allow myself to feel them before even doing anything. Can I just be in the anger? Can I just be in the pain, whatever that is? Just can we let our body know that it's okay, that I'm not gonna die, that I don't need to run away, that I don't need to eat sugar like I did before, you know,
Get on
like
social media,
to like
watch porn.
watch porn. Like I was addicted to all of that during my whole, many years. And it was different ways, but it was the same. It wasn't any more substances that would harm me, right? Or that people would say, okay, he's a drug addict. But it was everything else that was accepted by society, but it was coming from the same place. I am running away. I'm putting a band-aid to what I'm going through right now. So own it, be in the fire, teach your body that you can surrender to that and even breathe it into the heart. I practice this a lot before even moving energy at all. I'm just like, let me just be in it. And many times, just by witnessing it, I can see it transforming. I can see bliss happening. I can see peace coming through. I can see downloads coming through, ideas, creativity, inspiration. It's so beautiful just by doing nothing. So this for me is like the first step of embodiment, of just feel it. Don't try to change it.
Yeah.
Just witness it. It's like when you're witnessing the ego, you know you're not the ego. But the moment you bring light to the ego, that it's a low vibration, it fades away. The ego hates the light. Wants to be in the first, stage in front of everyone and take the lead. But once it's lighten us like, oh, and you're the ego. Oh, good to meet you. Thank you for being here. Hates it, right? And you can see it like being transformed. So same with the emotions. Second step is like, okay, now that you have felt that anger, now that you know there's memory, there's trauma from the past stored in your body, and this is why this trigger keeps coming up with your partner, with your children, with your students, with your friends, with life, with your business. Doesn't matter. It's a trigger. Where is the trigger coming from? Let's go into it. And that's what I teach people. It's like, okay, beyond being in the emotion or not, it doesn't matter. Let's go through the process, which I call quantum flow, which is that everything I've done, all these teachings put into a system with 7 stages that work on each one of the nervous plexus. The nervous plexus is agglomeration of nerves that carry all this information. They're related to the chakras. But instead of just working with the chakras and the colors and all that, which I used to do a lot, it's more like the energy field. You go to the core of it, which is each one of them. So you go and unravel and release all the memory that each one of them, using muscles, using breath, using like different shamanic activations that you just move and open up. And then from there, all that emotion, that's energy that has been blocked, all of a sudden turns into energy moving in your body. And that's when you start activating deeper layers of Kundalini, deeper layers of creativity, inspiration, wake up your inner genius. Everything comes from this place naturally, not because you're looking for it, not because you need to, not because you need to prove something. You just do the alchemy of bringing your body back to its natural state, letting go of any expectations that spirituality needs to look in a certain way, let it go, and you come back to your natural state where you feel tapped in. And wherever decision comes is the core connected to the heart and connected to the mind and the supraconscious mind. It's a full alignment from the nervous system. So then next time the anger comes, the fear comes, it just flows through you. You teach yourself that you don't have to clench it anymore, like, oh my God, that's bad, because it's so unconscious that when it comes like, oh, I'm feeling jealous. Oh no, I shouldn't feel jealous. Oh my God, now I'm a tantra. I couldn't feel jealous, look, or I'm feeling angry and like, oh no, but I've been doing yoga 5 years. Like, this is not good. Like, how I'm a yoga teacher, I'm not allowed to feel angry. Namaste, everybody. Hi, and it's a mask. It's a spiritual mask that I'm putting in front of everything that's going on underneath. Once I face it and look at it with love and gratitude and compassion, and that fades away, next time anger comes, oh, thank you, welcome. Energy of creativity. What am I going to do with this energy? Oh my God. Each emotion is a gift for us. And especially once the channel is clear, they just flow through. So nothing's stuck there anymore. It's just energy of creation.
Amen. Now I know why we're friends. Now I know why we're friends. I mean, I knew already, but like this, you are speaking my language. Like this is it. Like this is to me the human game.
Yeah.
It's like not judging one note on the keyboard as bad and one note as good. It's like, let's play all 88 keys. And, you know, it's been said to me that different species, you know, on the planet or off the planet, but different species are very covetous of this human experience, of the ability to feel agony and ecstasy inside of the same hour, to have, you know, the depths of sorrow and the heights of bliss in one day is a uniquely human experience.
Yeah.
And so I think if we were to see that as an attribute and almost to like own it and feel proud of like, look at us humans having all of these flavors of emotion versus, oh, there's something wrong with me. There's something bad because of all the conditioning that we had as children and all the people making fun of us because you're a crybaby and all of that bullshit. It's like, no, like I get to play this whole keyboard.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like your work is helping people to step into the mastery of feeling it, sitting in it, and then letting the feeling of it almost transmute itself, or consciously bringing it up into the heart and letting that love alchemize it into pure potentiality. It's where you can use it to step into and to manifest your highest self.
Yes, infinite potential. And it's a wild journey. Like my mission is to help people connect with their wild selves, with their authentic selves. And yes, it could be, I mean, if they come to the nest or to a retreat here or a retreat with me, I do wild leadership retreats, for example, or wild leadership trainings where, we get full of mud and we go into the depths of what is that inner animal that I'm carrying and how is that inner animal manifested in my business, my relationships, every part of me, what emotions are stuck there. Like we go through a whole wild journey, but only to open the doors of these parts that has been hidden somewhere because they're not good or they're not the highest or there's some kind of tag or judgment along the way. Even now, if you're super open, I've worked with like tantra people that are super open to so many things and they still haven't seen those little angles there or those parts, right? Because it becomes like from here, like I'm doing the work out, but when you go into the nervous system and you really unravel every part of the nervous system, like with a microscope, stuff that you had no idea that was there comes up. And it comes up very interesting ways. It could be wild, it could be, expressive, it could be like just parts of you that you didn't even know existed. But then it's like you start embodying more of who you really are. How does your soul want to express itself when there is no judgment, no comparison, no envy, no jealousy? There's none of that because all of that comes just because I am not feeling good enough. I'm not fully embodied. And when I feel jealous or envy for someone, it's because they're reflecting something in me that I haven't woken up in me. Simple. So whenever these parts that we don't like or we judge come, it's like, thank you. All right. You're reflecting that to me. I'm ready. Bring it on. You cultivate this mindset, this lifestyle of full commitment, of being aligned with your soul in whatever way that looks. Like that rational mind that comes in the way and separates constantly from your soul, from that playful soul, wonder, creative, inspiring genius that we all are, starts fading away. And you start just allowing this energy to flow and you become amazed to see yourself showing up in such an authentic, real way and people notice you. You enter a room and it's like, whoa, you got some codes in there. It's like when we met, right? We're like, okay, what's going on in here? We didn't know what you were about, what I was about, but it was like the energy, right? We've done similar work where we're like, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
And now we understand why.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, let's go deeper. But
Yeah.
there's a vibration, there's a frequency, there's a radiancy that has woken up because we have owned it. We've gone to the depths of our soul and really dug in there and then allow that, all that shadow, all that darkness, whatever, to be turned into light, to open up and then expand our field fully. There's nothing more aligned to embodiment and to your highest vibration than authenticity. If you analyze all the vibrations, yes, love is very high, gratitude is very high, authenticity is the highest one of all. Once you have really embodied your fully authentic self and you're saying yes every time you really feel a yes, you're saying no with love every time you're really feeling a no. You're really following your gut, your intuition. You're really tapped in the way you dress, the way you move, the way you look, the way you walk, the way you relate, the way you express, like everything. When everything is aligned to who you really are and you have let go of that rationality, I need to be somehow that I am not, you embody your codes and frequencies, your gifts that are here fully for you, and they just radiate through you. And that radiation is full highest vibration from the highest self, from the soul emanating out. So when we're living in that space, what's happening? We're attracting all the people, things, experiences, money, energies. All of it is just being magnetized by your authentic being, because it's like, I see you. I don't know what is there here between us, but I can feel you, sister. Let's get to know each other, right? Like, I have no problem at speaking to you. I know I can tell you absolutely anything. And this is how it was when we met the first time and we shared something like super deep, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was so deep that we just looked and laughed, and we were just and then separated, didn't see you again. Then I think I saw you again in Estonia. Like it's been on and off, but it's like a soul remembering. And it's like, yes, I can vibrate with your authentic codes, and I just want to be around people like that, because it's people I can trust. It's people that I know support me. It's people that I know I'm on this journey together. Like, if I know where I'm at, I know where I'm standing, and I know I can be my fully authentic self with you without judgment, comparison, or any kind of tag.
Yeah. Wow, so beautifully articulated, so beautifully embodied. So I want to reflect back and underscore a few things that I heard, because I just want to make sure that that was a lot, and I want to make sure that people are really receiving this medicine. So I think that you just explained how we go from embodying and feeling what we would tag as darker emotions, because those are, if they're coming up and they're authentic, and if we can feel them fully, if we can express them fully, then we start to trust ourselves. We start to trust ourselves to move through that mini medicine ceremony, right? It's like there's an emotional chemical alchemy happening inside of our own nervous systems in real time. And so bit by bit, jealousy by jealousy, rage by rage, sorrow by sorrow, we start to trust ourselves to alchemize that into something else. And that allows us to be more authentic. That allows us to trust ourselves, to own ourselves, and to uniquely embody this collection of trillions of cells, not trying to be your collection of trillions of cells or Regan's collection of trillions of cells. It's like, no, mine. And then that authenticity, that bravery, that trust that you're developing inside of your own nervous systems makes space for your soul, your codes, your guidance, your inspiration. And so that, and I'm happy to have any more clarity here of like, how does feeling the darkness and messiness of our human emotions create space for us to really embody our soul's wisdom?
Yeah. So feeling them is super important, to know they're there
Yeah.
and allow them and bring that safety to the body that I can feel.
Yeah.
Nothing's Nothing's happening. I'm not dying, because your nervous system wants to keep you safe. Your
And get
unconscious
out.
mind wants to keep you safe. Like, this is too much. This is too much rage. This is too much sadness. You're going to die.
Yeah.
So the unconscious mind is always protecting us and keeping in a box. And this is for manifestation. This is for embodiment. This is for anything you're coming out of the box. Your unconscious mind will always try to keep you there in the known. So same with the emotions. Once you've really allowed yourself to feel, it's like, oh, okay, I'm okay. I can be here. I can feel this rage, and oh, look, I actually now feel better just to feel it.
Yeah.
Like, can I be in the fire, not being scared of being in the fire? So I would say that's like the first step to like teach yourself to do that. Sometimes it will get alchemized. I wouldn't say like all the time. It depends on where it's coming from. Like the amount of rage I felt or sadness, just by feeling it, it just gets more intense. So I have to move the energy in my body. And that's where the embodiment comes through. And that's where like I go into the nervous system, I go into the nervous plexus, right? And I release with my hands, with self-massage, with breath, with all these different shamanic techniques to like unravel everything that we're carrying, because it's very deep. So you can change your mindset, you can do all you want from an energetic perspective, but we have also the physical, like the nervous system perspective that needs to be addressed. So I would say starting to do the work there and knowing that it's important to rewire the nervous system if you really want to get to the core of it all. That's what I've seen. Beyond just like expression, I can express all the anger I want, but if the core of it, where it's coming from, it's still there, the trauma that happened with my dad, with my mom, with divorce, with somewhere along the way, that it could be a little detail, but my body took it as a trauma. And it can be a micro trauma, but that micro trauma could have changed absolutely my relationship with life.
It's like a 1 degree trajectory change over 20 years is a big change.
Exactly. So let's go to the core. And then from there, once you have reset that and you come back to that natural state, then of course, emotions will come and go, but they're not again distorted in a story. They're not again distorted in a neurocircuitry that has been created because of a certain reason and a certain trigger. So the more you work on these parts of your nervous system, the more you transform the triggers. All of a sudden, those triggers aren't there anymore. Not because they're bad, because that trigger is just a part of the nervous system that has been tense, stressed, and crystallized. And that's what you feel. You feel the trigger, like it's not clear. So when that's cleared, the trigger is gone. So your partner says something, or your father or your mother says something, and you're not there. You're like, oh my God, some years ago, I would have just got so angry with this. And well done, Juan Pa. Wow, you've done well, Emily. Yes, right? That's when you're like, I've done the work. I didn't control it. I didn't try to. No, I just didn't even feel anything.
Amen.
Right? It's
Yeah,
so
this is my favorite
work.
feedback I get from people, and they're like, oh my gosh, this thing happened in traffic, or my boyfriend said this, or this thing happened with my taxes 2 years ago. I would have flown off the handle, and now I just laughed. Or I just saw it and I chose something different. And so I know that you probably get that feedback a lot too, and it's such a gift. It's such a gift.
Because that's the inner work that we're talking about. So why embodiment? Because we're going to the depths also of the body, feeling whatever needs to be felt, and then allowing it to be transmuted, right? For example, the pelvic floor, working with the pelvic floor, doing activations with the pelvic floor, bringing all that trauma, that is the basic trauma of embodiment, is the first chakra. It's like, I have a body, or I love my body, or I hate my body. If that is not codified, aligned to your soul, you're going to be hating your body. You're not going to be eating the right things that are nurturing your body. You're not going to be respecting your sexual life and your pleasure. You're not going to be respecting who you are and your purpose in the world, because the first chakra is where the soul really says, hey, I'm here. Hello. Right? And if that's distorted, your whole life would be distorted. So that's where let's work on the pelvic floor. Let's get that energy. And what happens with that pelvic floor? Then that energy starts coming up through the spine, right? The real enlightenment comes from this embodiment, from the darkest, from the densest to the lightest, right? And getting lost in this path could be from the heart up. Many people in the spiritual path are not, I'm just love, I'm just bliss. Oh, no, that doesn't even exist. Oh, and and they can do it for a while. And I've studied with geniuses that they talk and you're like blown away. And what they say, because they're super connected here, 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 and here. And here it's like they're not in there.
Yes,
At
like
some point
their
they're
heart, their
cut.
throat, their vision, their mind, but they're not inhabiting like the root, the sex, the
So you
creativity.
feel the love and you're like, oh my God, I feel so much love with this person. They speak the truth and they're like, wow, so tapped into like whatever word that comes out, it's like, it touches me, it moves me. Wow, they're super tapped into their intuition. They're a full channel. But when you get to know them, and I've studied with them, when I get with someone, I go deep, I go live with them, I used to, not anymore, but I want to receive from you all the codes. I know you're my teacher. I would do whatever it would take, so I would live with all these different
So
masters.
like old school apprenticeship.
Yeah, I would love that. And if I need to clean your house or I need whatever I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it would be in community, sometimes it would be one-on-one, but I love that. And when I get to go deeper with the person, I could tell you, I could feel them not being here. Like there's emotions, like how they share with their wife, how they're with their children, and they're kind of pushing this down and they have opened all of this. You can. But sooner or later, this Pandora box is going to open. And I saw that with some gurus.
That's why so many gurus, I think, are falling. Because like the sexual energy is coming out in unhealthy ways.
Myself.
Or like, dating their 18-year-old students. And
yes. I saw it myself. And I can tell you, I did it myself.
Yeah.
At a very long time ago, I did go in there. I was repressing some stuff and I did get in with a student, for example, which I would never do. And I was always telling my students, the last thing you do, you get with students. Like that doesn't exist. It's always a very clear, honorable relationship. And I didn't respect that myself, my own principles, right?
Thank you for naming that and owning that.
This wasn't aligned.
Like the lower chakras weren't online, yeah.
And that showed me, thanks to that, I'm like, okay, thank you, teacher. Thank you, teacher. Now I'm ready. Let me open up. And I really unraveled so much distortion, especially my second chakra with my sexual energy. Emily, you have no idea. Until I had to go to a place of completely not have sex. And this happened with my wife right now, that we started doing these diets where we don't have sex for 2 months, for 6 months. We're now in a 3-month already in diet where there's no sex, no sexual energy at all. But why? Because we're both really rewiring this, being able to meet each other, to connect with each other, to feel, to move energy, and not try to feel in that emptiness that sometimes we try to feel with the sexual energy and with the other person. So it's like whatever comes, like I'm facing it myself, I'm feeling it myself, I'm going into it myself. It's been a beautiful, long, profound journey. But I've healed so much coming from very long time ago, pornography and masturbation, liberating my seed everywhere as a man. That's the last thing I would do right now, but fully unconscious of what it is to be a man, what it is to be an empowered man, and to really use that sexual energy in the highest way possible. So all these unconscious patterns that were there, that until I got into my sexual chakra and unraveled all that and cleared, I was in these shadows, underneath, and I had 2 lives. This was going behind the scenes, and I was another person when I was out there. So this is what I mean by being embodied
and
face
authentic
yourself,
too. The dark and the light are integrating.
Authentic.
Yeah.
Let's own it right now. What are we running away from or hiding from? It's there for a reason. It's there to teach us something. So welcome it as your teacher, and then allow it to really teach you and guide you so you can be free. Because once you let it go, that's the real freedom. You fly. It's the energy is flying through you.
It feels like my very simple description of Tantra is finding God where you thought it was not. And so I think there's a nuance here. And I just want to, because I've spent so much of my career in this podcast helping people to reconnect with their sexual energy and see it as holy and see it as sacred. And like anything else, the devil is in the dose. The intention really matters.
Yes.
And so just like water can be poison or medicine, same is true of sexual energy. I have seen people heal lifetimes and many generations of trauma with their pleasure when done with intention and when they know how to utilize it. And if we're using it as a numbing device, or if we're using it, if we judge it as bad, if we don't see it as holy, and then we run away from it, then it will sublimate and it will express itself in unhealthy ways.
Yes.
So I really appreciate the work that you've done to look at, accept, feel, honor, integrate, all of it, all of the expression.
Thank you. Yes, it's just, when you allow yourself to be guided into like, okay, what's next? What's next? And then like, okay, this happened, no judgment. Now what's next? It just, life keeps flowing and it keeps guiding us. Like, it's interesting when you ask me about the sexual energy and everything that happened and all these 3 chakras and just seeing it in others. And I was first judging all these teachers outside, right? Then it happened to me and I'm like, oh my God. Oh, this is big, especially for men. It's happening a lot with shamans and gurus and teachers, and all this is being unraveled on planet Earth right now. It's all coming to the surface, right? When it happened to me, it got me to like really surrender and connect with my feminine. And for me, it's been a lot about surrendering to the feminine, to my inner goddess. Even though it's about to connect with my masculine, it comes from the sweetness and the surrender of the feminine. And when I surrendered, this methodology that works on the nervous system, I started receiving how the energy flows in spirals. And it wasn't anymore just this Kundalini energy flowing up and down, but working on the nervous plexus in such a way that the last stage before it goes into the brain is the sexual energy. So when we're purifying the body, and this just happened through my body after a ceremony, a medicine ceremony, my body was just moving in certain ways. I was fully clear, fully in my body, fully present, and it just started breathing and moving and I got all the download for hours, wrote it on in a journal, like, or what was going on, because it wasn't anything mental or that I had learned. It was all the principles, but put together in one. It was so beautiful to witness. And what they were telling me is that when it's first chakra and then second chakra, the energy is very impure. And this is why the sexual energy after the first can be a little bit distorted if you have a lot of stuff in there. So to help humanity, it was more going in spiral. So the fifth, which is I call the flow state, when you're flowing, is when you're going into the second chakra. So you've already gone through the first, you've already gone through the throat, which is the purification. You've already cleared the core and the heart. And then the energy is ready to go into the sexual energy. And then from there, it's all into the pineal and the lotus opening up to the heavens, right? So it's beautiful to allow this to happen and to be guided, especially in these moments where this is the medicine that we need as humanity. And when I share it with people, men and women, they do feel the difference, and they do like open up to all this stuff they were carrying, even in this part, because it's approached in a different way. So it's so interesting when we surrender actually to this energy, which is for me was the sexual energy guiding me. Yes, it's God, it's goddess, but I could feel it was the full Kundalini opening my spine and guiding me like, Juan Pa, and this is your mission, and this is the way, and this is why, and my body having all this like just responses to what was going on. But it was her, it was the goddess, like guiding this through my body. It was so beautiful. Yes.
So I feel like I could dance with you for hours, but just to bring us home, the show is called Why Isn't Everyone Doing This? So why isn't everyone embodying their highest potential? What's the number one block that you see people facing?
Ignorance.
Like they just don't know?
They don't know. I'm sure that when they hear this, they feel this, they're like, oh my God, yes, right? Like, of course, this body is made to thrive. This body is made to feel incredible and embody your highest self and your soul and your full potential. It's made for that. Every cell is designed for healing. Every cell is designed for upgrading. Every cell is designed for longevity. Like the highest, like it's God in a cell. Like it's the most incredible hologram we can see of the universe, right? Every cell. But the ego and the ignorance and all the system and all the beliefs have disconnected us. We've allowed this to actually disconnect from the process of nature. that's how nature flows. That's why nature is so beautiful. Everywhere you go, nature is expansive. Nature is life. Nature is flowing. Nature is blooming. Nature is sprouting. It's happening in us, but we're so disconnected from it. We're not really in the body that then we start creating separation. So once we own all of it, every part of us, from the lowest to the highest, all this highway of energy, all the organs, all the emotions we carry, all the thoughts, the energies, the stories, everything from the past, we really allow ourselves to feel it in our body and to transform it. We naturally embody our highest potential, our inner genius, our soul. It just naturally happens.
And this brings us all the way back to the beginning of like that all of these different modalities that you've studied, that it's all about coming back to the natural perfection of who you are.
Yes.
That it's already there. Nature's already perfect. We were perfect when we came out of the womb. We forget for a little while because it's fun to remember. And so thank you for your lifetime of dedication, for studying so many different modalities, for doing that inner alchemy, those mini medicine ceremonies with each emotion that comes up, the big medicine ceremonies where you really alchemize a lifetime of things and ancestral things so that nature could use you to birth these new modalities. It's so beautiful to witness you embodying your highest potential and what you manifest and what you create as a result of that. So
Thank you so much.
thank you. So I'm sure that people are very excited to learn more about you and to work with you. Where can people find you?
Well, my Instagram, Juan Pa Global, it's a name in Spanish, so maybe you can put it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll put the link in, but let's just spell it. So
yeah, so it's Juan, like Juan in Spanish, Pa, right? From Juan Pablo, Juan Pa. So it's JUANPA_global.
okay.
So that's the Instagram. And then, of course, they can check my webpage, Juan Pablo Barahona. And yeah, please reach out. Let me know where you're at and what has inspired you, how I can support you in whatever way. And that's why we're here, to serve and support others thrive.
Yeah, amen.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. This has
so
been
much.
such a dream, such a delight. I'm so excited to dance and play more as nature would have us do.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you all for watching. Pura vida.
Pura vida! So coming to you live from Costa Rica. If you have enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends. Share this media as medicine with the people who you think would benefit from embodying their highest potential. If you enjoyed it, you can screenshot it and tag us on Instagram. I'm at Ziva Meditation. Juan Pa is Juanpa_global. And we would love to hear, what was your big takeaway? Like what transformed for you? What were your aha moments? So we love you very, very much. And we'll see you next week on Why Isn't Everyone Doing This?